psychogenic. So I strike a little pose. Let 'em breathe, let 'em gaze, let 'em glow. I see sipping on the throne. My thoughts are fading in and out, chittering like static sounds. Pace myself and ease it out, I'm trying to lounge. Consume myself with soothing sounds. Mellow bacon simmer down. I'ma call this 20 shades of wisdom, cause my 20s got me thinking. 2 years in and a heap of reminiscence. Blood-eyed teens.
And big smile when you say that. Like someone said something funny.
How did I start in fashion? My start in fashion is actually quite interesting because my background actually was more in dance. So I was training in New York City at the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, and whilst I was at the Ailey School, I had a part-time job at Gap on 42nd Street, which is now closed. It was the flagship store, and I'll never forget, a woman came into the store and she was getting American classics, lots of pairs of denim, lots of white t-shirts, and like when I say a lot, it's like 20 or 25 of each. And I thought it was really interesting that she was buying these many pieces of the same thing. So I asked her what she did, and she told me that she was Mary J. Blige's stylist, and that she was in town from Chicago. Her name was Eunice Sanders. And I just took a chance, and I said, well, if you need any help, I'd be willing to help you out for free. I have no idea. I pretended like I knew what I was doing, but I had no idea what I was doing. And she called the store the next day, and she asked my manager if she could take me out off the rotor for the week, and he agreed. And that was actually my first exposure to fashion in that capacity. I always had an interest in clothing and style with my upbringing, but that was the first professional insight that I had into the world of styling from a celebrity perspective. My tips would be telling people my mistakes so that they can learn from my errors and my faults. I think when I first started working in the industry, I had this sense of competition and always wanting to be very competitive. And I think that friendly competition is good, but I think that if competition becomes hostile, or through competition you start, as people say, like rolling over people with the bus or throwing people under the bus, I think it's not healthy. So I think the first bit of advice that I would give to anyone wanting to be a stylist is just appreciate the art of collaboration and the art of partnership. I think the key piece is to have great shoes. I think everyone should have a great boot in their wardrobe, whether that be an ankle boot, whether that be a chunky boot, how I'm wearing today. I think it's always very important to have a great boot in your wardrobe. Staple pieces, you have to have a great coat. Whatever that coat may be, if you want to go classic, is it a black duvet coat? Is it a black pea coat? Is it a classic trench, like a Burberry trench? I think those are pieces that you should, no matter where you are, who you are, whether you're the CEO or the barista at a coffee shop, those are pieces that are universal and globally kind of cross the spectrum of fashion, wherever you might be, makes sense. And then I think what you kind of put underneath that, I think fashion is ever evolving and it's changing now. I think that there used to be staple pieces for men and staple pieces for women, and I think there's now a fluidity that we're seeing in fashion where these pieces are kind of crossing over. Why is Amazon a good shopping destination? I think one of the things that I admire most about the Amazon platform is that it aligns with who I am as a stylist. I think there's something for everyone. I think it's very rare that you can go to a website and find something for everyone, for the youngest person in your family or your youngest friend on up to the eldest person or your oldest friend. I think that there's something for, and also in regards to the products buy, I think Amazon does a really good job of having very established designers, Hugo Boss, Levi's, Calvin Klein, next to emerging and establishing designers. And that's something that's really important to me. First and foremost, you have to always remember that you're addressing a human being. And this is a human being that is coming to you with their own narrative, with their own journey, with their own story, with their own life experiences. And because of that, you have to be cognizant of all of these things so that you can respond to that in a way that is authentic to who they are as a person. I think oftentimes you see VIPs or celebrities on the red carpet and they look as if the look is wearing them. So for me as a stylist, I think it's very important for me to always ensure that I'm honoring who that talent is. My business partner and I, Sarah, I think with every single client that we have, if you put all of our clients on the front row at a show or at a premiere, they all look uniquely different. And that's something that we're very proud of because we really do take the time to get to know them and understand them. As we like to say, we meet them where they are. And by meeting them where they are, you're able to build a fashion narrative. I love that you noticed that because I think, for me, when I left Vogue, I think I said that if I was going to continue to work in the fashion industry, that it was important for me to really work in the capacity where I was uplifting younger talent, whether that be younger musicians, younger actors or actresses, younger designers. I think I really strongly believe in reaching back to pay it forward and bring people forward with you, because there's a lot of people in my life who if they had not taken a chance on me, I would not be where I am in my career. So when working with younger talent, I think, how do you develop their fashion narrative? I think you just have to listen. And again, it just goes back to making sure that you're keeping your pulse on contemporary culture. I think of some of our clients like, Max Harwood or Bookie Bakray or Kassar Ali, who are all very young talent who are doing amazing things and breaking glass ceilings in the industry just because of who they are. Kassar as a Muslim woman, Max as a gay male, Bookie as a black female. I think that they already represent so many important things for society and culture, so to be a part of that in any capacity is already shifting the narratives and the conundrums in the fashion industry. How do you establish a look? How do you establish a look? Did you mean for a red carpet or for a specific moment?
For a specific.
Okay, I think I always use her as an example. I honestly think that she made my career. So one of my clients who I'm very close with is Naomi Scott, and there was a lot of pressure to get that press tour right. And she was playing Princess Jasmine in Aladdin. It was almost like her coming out. It was a breakthrough moment for her. So we had to get the look right, and for her, that was when press tours were actually press tours. I think we did a global press tour. We ended up doing a premiere in, I might be able to remember it off the top of my head. So we did Paris, we did Off-White, which was very controversial. And then we did in London, we did Custom Burberry with Riccardo Tisci. Then we did in Berlin, Valentino Pierpaolo the Genius. And we did for LA, Brandon Maxwell, which was Custom Brandon Maxwell. And these were looks. And then in the Middle East, we did a Custom Armani moment from Mr. Armani. And I think the way that we were able to establish the looks is by, again, it was very academic. So in the Middle East, we knew that the women there were modest dressed. So how do we accomplish this? Because working with Kassar, there's been a lot of conversations around how the fashion industry really snubs, Middle Eastern women and thinks that it can't be fashion forward because they're not, super sexy or, you know what I'm trying to say? I think fashion has a tendency to kind of over-sexualize things, and I think that that's not necessary, especially when it comes to women. So I think that because, in the Muslim community it's modest dress, fashion hasn't really given them the attention to really create silhouettes and to really create things that are still considered fashionable. So when we got to the Middle East and we were talking to Naomi, I was like, this is an opportunity for us to kind of shift that narrative. So she wore this beautiful, it was encrusted with these red sapphire crystals in the bodice and this huge A-line skirt, almost like a Dior silhouette, but in the Armani language. So and I think that's how you really truly establish the look. What do I consider to buy for myself? When I'm shopping for myself, I think that I'm thinking about practicality. I'm thinking about investment. I want to invest in things, and I'm also getting quite cautious of as I get older, I have a uniform. So thinking about, I tend to wear either all black. It's funny because I'm on the ends of the spectrum. I'm either full out with a Gucci boot and a skirt with a blazer, or I'm giving you all black. So I think that I'm on the opposite ends of the spectrum, but when I'm shopping for myself, I'm also I think this might be from my upbringing in the South, I try to be budget conscious. I try to catch a sale. I try to catch a sample sale. And if I'm going to spend a lot of money, then I have to make sure that it's a piece that's going to last me for a very long time, or something that I can hand down to a loved one or someone in my family. that was a really interesting challenge that I think every stylist had to deal with over the pandemic, because we were all working remotely. When the world of celebrity did open back up, we had to figure out how do we style people without actually being physically with them, which is a challenge because what we do is so dependent on being able to read the room, being able to see a client's expression when they put on a certain garment, and I think doing that virtually made it very difficult to do that. There's only so much you can read from a screen on a Zoom or a Zoom screen. But I think that the way we quickly had to shift, we quickly had to navigate and pivot so that we could continue to be relevant within this space. So I think for us now, if we are doing a Zoom fitting, or if we are thinking about how something translates from in real life, from in real life carpet, to how it translates from here up on a Zoom, you just have to factor in all those things. So if you're doing it from a Zoom, what are the colors? What's the background? Like, who is the audience? So really thinking about the full 360 context of what that moment is for, who it's for, and then allowing that to guide what the person is wearing. We just recently worked with, Tiona Paris and Naya DaCosta, and they were both doing press for Candyman. And it was all virtual press. And in that context, both of the women were both saying that they wanted to support Black designers. So we had to think about how do we support Black, and this is actually a really interesting conversation that we've been having with the FMA, with the British Fashion Council as well, trying to figure out how do you elevate marginalized designers who may not have the access or the resources to kind of create garments at the luxury, and I'm talking about when I say at the luxury level, that's in regards to cut patterns, that's with regards to the fabrications. That access that these designers don't have is also a big part of the reason why they are so pigeonholed and they're not able to break through the glass ceiling of being seen as luxury. So I think what we have to do as a community is use these opportunities that we have, when there's digital press or when there's press just in general, to kind of uplift these communities and uplift these designers so that they'll have the space to kind of exist as well alongside their contemporaries. To easily update an outfit on a budget, again, it's the accessories. Is it getting a great bag? Is it changing the shoe? Because if you, so let's say for instance, if you're a female and you have a classic LBD, a little black dress, how do you lift that? Do you do a flat shoe today? Do you do a boot today? Do you do a heel? Do you add tights to the look? Or maybe you change up the bag, or maybe it's adding different types of jewelry. I think that it's built around accessories that can kind of change how a look feels. Especially for somebody who wears a uniform, I think the way that you kind of can make your uniform special or elevated is just through, channeling different accessories. And accessories can also be very era specific. If you're looking at doing the 70s, is it a hoop earring? If you're looking at doing the 90s, is it chunky jewelry? You know what I mean? So I think you can also look at era specific jewelry and allow that to kind of dictate and curate what the fashion will be through using a staple piece like an LBD. What should every man have in his wardrobe? I think every man, let me not say that it's not easier with men, but I think once a man can find the perfect pair of denim, I see so many men with denim that does not fit them right. So I think a man should really focus on getting a great pair of denim and finding a great t-shirt brand, whether that be a Honro or a Sunspell or even a Hanes. Like, you know what I mean? Just finding the great classics. Also, you want to make sure you have a great blazer. And just all you need is like one or two. You need one or two suits. You need a nice dark dinner suit and then like a daytime suit. If you can get those staples in your wardrobe, you should be prepared for anything. Where do I look for the key pieces that will make an outfit? I look everywhere. I think inspiration is always around us wherever we go. Travel is very important to me, so whether I'm traveling to the States or whether I'm traveling to some random small country, I'm constantly looking for fashion cues from the people around me. I think it's important that we learn from the people around me. I think we should be informed by the culture, we should be informed by others, and I think by doing so you become like a time capsule for that moment. So that's where I kind of get my cues from. I wouldn't say that I make sure that I'm aware of what's happening in the fashion space, what's happening in like the magazines, but by the time you see it in the magazine, it's kind of already done. So I'm trying to always I'm trying to get ahead of the curve. And I think the way that you get ahead of the curve is by making sure that you're observing what's happening right around you. And not only your community, but look into communities that you're not a part of, because that's where you will discover fresh and new ideas. Oh my God, it's massively important. How important is fashion? Like, it's $1 billion industry. You know, I think fashion it might be one of the most important industries because it's the one thing that every single person, regardless who you are, regardless of your social status, your economic status, we all depend on fashion in some respect. We all have to put on clothes, you know. So I think it's very important in that regard from a business perspective, but I think from a more human and personal perspective, fashion is very important because it's a non-verbal language. It's a way for us to communicate and to engage and interact with other people without ever speaking. And so whether you're introverted or extroverted, fashion allows you to express yourself without ever having to open your mouth. And I think that is so important for so many people because not everyone is going to be able to communicate an ideal or to tell you how they're feeling simply because they may not be able to do that. But you can say so much about a person can be seen by how they're dressed that day, what colors they're wearing, what silhouettes they're wearing, and those are all cues that I think are important in how we behave and engage with each other as a human society. I think now buying well is several things. I think buying well is being budget conscious, of course, making sure that you're investing in the right pieces that you need. I think buying well is also being cautious of sustainability, conscious of the pieces that you're buying. You know, what's their story? What's in the same way you need to, I think we need to spend more time thinking about what is the journey of this piece, where did this piece begin, and where's this piece going to end up if I buy it? And I think if people took more time to do that, we'd be in a much better position than we are now with regards to the footprint that the fashion industry as a whole has left on the space. I think we've seen now how turbulent things have been happening, you know, in nature itself, and how Mother Earth is responding to all the havoc that we've caused. So I think it's our responsibility as a human race now to reach back and to kind of nurture all the things that we've destroyed. So I think when you are buying and when you are shopping now, or when you if you are on Amazon.com, just thinking about, you know, what is the life cycle of this piece that I'm about to spend money on, and is it worth the investment? And that's one of the things that I like about Amazon, is that Amazon does a really great job of kind of putting right next to each other, you know, really established designers and emerging designers and young designers as well. So there is quite a selection, and I think that the team at Amazon, you know, they with the money that the company does make, I think that they are reaching back and trying to do the work to ensure that they are leaving a positive footprint on the world with regards to that space of being eco-friendly and sustainable. Yeah, I think tips on building a coherent wardrobe is, like I said, shop for your life. Like, I think you have to be conscious of who you are, what you do. So for instance, if you are a mother and you just had a child, that's going to influence your wardrobe. You're not going to want to be investing in silk pieces. You're not going to want to be investing in cashmere because there's going to be a lot of baby. You know what I mean? So like, if you just have a newborn, I think you have to always think about where am I at in this stage of my life, and how do I want to project and present myself to the world? You know, if you're a woman looking for a new job, if you're looking for a promotion, I think that comes with a different set of how you should dress. If you're That's an easy one. Pharrell Williams is my style icon. I think that him, Pharrell, Andre 3000, I think from the spectrum of the male gaze, what they as black men, what they've been able to do, and it's not just them. I mean, because if you look at the history of fashion, I mean, in the black community, black men have always been very daring and very avant-garde and ahead of their time in how they're dressed. If you look at the Harlem Renaissance, look at the great poets of that era. If you look at, you know, some of the earlier, you know, black actors, like Sidney Poitier, like there's the language of fashion for black men has always been very strong. Hi everyone, Zadrian here, International Fashion Director, coming to you today from London. Really excited to be working on this special project with an organization that is really near and dear to my heart, the Fashion Minority Alliance, which is an organization that was founded by Barbara Kennedy Brown and Cheryl Conte during the pandemic, which has been put together to kind of uplift and celebrate marginalized members of the community. And today we are partnering with Amazon Fashion on a special project where we will be helping you to kind of lift and uplift your wardrobe as we begin to transition into the autumn-winter season and as the world opens back up, looking at how we explore that together. What I love most about this initiative is the fact that it's an alignment of morals and values. I think, brands like Tommy Hilfiger have been really incredibly supportive of the FMA. And when you look on the Amazon Fashion website, you have this great list of acclaimed designers: Calvin Klein, Hugo Boss, Tommy Hilfiger, Panko, and sitting right next to them are these young, emerging UK brands and designers like Rachel Jackson, Les Girls, Les Boys, and I know that list is going to only further expand, especially now that the FMA is involved, to make sure that there's a representation of all different types of designers, because I think that that's what Amazon represents. Amazon is about, diversity and inclusion and making sure that they have something for everyone. And that, for me, is the future of fashion. And that's why this initiative is so important. And of course, the fashion side of it and the styling side of it, which we're going to get involved with now with my friend Lauren from Los Angeles. So stay tuned. I have that and lots of styling coming up to you now.
My ways to stay till late or even spend the night. I know that you're in the mood to play, cause you like it like that.
So let's start with your look number one. This is the London look. So I was thinking we start off, like we said, investment piece, this beautiful coat.
Love it.
Love the texture. I love the trim with like the darker. Like you were saying about tonalities, I love playing with tones. So
Yes.
kind of go with like this kind of creamy beige and like a dark brown trim. Love the button. All about details as well.
Yes,
Love the button
yes.
detail. So this becomes like an investment piece. You're starting off with that outer
Absolutely.
shell. And then underneath, we just do like an aubergine kind of eggplant kind of a dress. I love the fact that it's belted so it can cinch the waist and it becomes a little bit more bodycon. But this to me is quintessential London. I
Yeah.
feel like this look, if the sun decides to come out, you can remove the coat. If it starts raining, you put the coat back on. So we'll start here. You said you love a boot.
I do.
So I was thinking we can do this boot with this. Cute. There we go. So we have the knotted belt. I love the shoe. And then, like we were saying before, like you can start off with this look, and then if it gets really chilly at night, we add the coat from naked. I bring this around. Love the texture. Bring your hair out. Gorgeous. How do you feel?
Oh, yeah. This is it.
I love. This for me is quintessential London. You have a great dress underneath. Love the color palette. We're going into the fall now, so it's appropriate for the fall. We've layered the coat over the top. For me, it's always about the detail. I love that they trimmed it in this kind of chocolate brown, playing with this kind of like camel, almost like a beigey cream, but the color play for me really works. The next look is adding a little bit of color as well. I heard that your favorite color might be purple. It is. So there we go. I got your favorite color in, but I love the idea of being able to maintain this sensibility of being, wearing really luxe fabrications or just feeling really cozy and chic, but still making sure that that's elevated so that if you want to go out for lunch with the girls or if you want to go have a meeting with your booker, it all still makes sense.
I love that.
Right. So I like the idea of doing this kind of halter top. And then over the top of that, we can just layer that with kind of like the little sleeveless knit moment.
Yeah.
And then there's a gray trouser at the bottom, almost like a yoga pant. But I think because it becomes quite tonal with the one tone and the white underneath, also it's about details. Color on you! I think what I find often is that whenever I'm working with the client, they're always afraid to wear color.
Yeah.
Like, what are your comfort zones around wearing color? Interesting. What would you advise for someone who's maybe nervous about color? How do you introduce color into the wardrobe?
With your eyes.
That's a good
Something that,
starting point.
can match, or even your favorite color example.
And this is your
Purple
favorite color?
mine. Yes.
So I think actually you answered the question. The way to introduce color into your wardrobe is maybe start with two things. A color that looks good on your skin tone or your favorite color. Because if it's your favorite color, you're going to automatically love it.
Yeah.
So then these pieces we have the sleeveless knit from Viramoda. The trousers here, these are like airport chic trousers. The airport chic
Absolutely.
trousers are from Naked. Then the underneath top is from the drop, also the bag. And then we have these white boots, these Essex Glam boots. Get the look. This is our cozy chic airport look on Lauren. This kind of short 60s mini dress moment is going to look really great on you. And what I love the idea of doing is thinking about how can we translate this for day. So this is your business meetings, the business lunch, and then for night, meeting with the big casting director.
Yeah.
Same silhouette, different details. Okay, business, ready for the lunch?
Yes.
That's one of the things that I really actually love about what Amazon do. It's the fact that they have this really diverse and eclectic array of designers. So you see your Calvin Klein, you see your Hugo Boss, you see Panko, next to young emerging UK brands like Les Girls Les Boys or Rachel Jackson. I think that they've really done a really amazing buy, which gives visibility to some brands and designers who may not be seen. And that brings us to the business of fashion. So I think also in the fashion industry, a lot of people think that it's difficult to have a career in fashion or that it's a frivolous industry. I think there's so many careers. Even if you look at our set today, there's the camera person.
Absolutely.
There's, makeup, there's hair, there's the producer. Like there's so many, fashion is not just tool and pretty this and pretty that. So what we're gonna do, this is our daytime business, Lauren. We'll be going to the nighttime business, Lauren. Similar silhouette, but now we're gonna go to that classic LBD dress. I think what we won't cinch the waist on this, we'll let it be a little bit more boxy, but this can just show you how you can transition a same silhouette or the same ideal style-wise and have it translate from day to night. Ooh, okay, chic. So this is Panko for the night. So we had the Panko day moment and now we're transitioning into the night. I think the LBD, little black dress, is probably one of the most classic, timeless staples that every woman should have in their wardrobe.
I completely agree.
Talk me through, how do you feel in this look? Where are we going? Talk me through it.
Oh my gosh, where don't I want to go in this?
Right.
You could add a cute blazer or not. You don't even have.
Hold that thought. Add a cute blazer or not. But why? Let's add the blazer just over the shoulder.
Yes.
Especially because you are in London, so it might get chilly at night.
See
so
you
we're just
later.
gonna go here. And now as now it's a different look,
Exactly.
a different moment. So what we're gonna do for your night look is we're gonna do a little surprise glam moment. We won't tell anybody yet, just wait for it, hold for it. So we'll do a change up for the glam moment. This is your date night moment with your boo. And I thought we could make it a little bit sexy at the top. I'll have a little bit of a cutout here.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna do the leather
Yes.
trouser.
Yes.
And then we'll do our little boot moment. And that'll be the perfect date night, the perfect welcome home. What's his name?
D'Angelo.
Oh, okay, D'Angelo. All right. D'Angelo, this is our look for you from London. Date night with Lauren. Oh, okay, D'Angelo. Date night with D'Angelo look.
I'm ready.
Okay, let's start, before we get into the fashion, let's start with this glam. So talk us through how we transition. You've done 3 looks for us glam-wise. How did we land here for date night? And how does this make you feel, this transition of playing with different, beauty elements as well, and how does that add to a look?
So, date night, for example. Date night's always fun. Gotta spice things up.
Right. Keep them guessing, keep them guessing.
Keep them guessing, keep them on their toes.
Right.
Also, like in everyday lifestyle, I told you, out at night, I like to keep things sleek. I like to keep the face, keep the clothes, kind of a part of the reason why I'm going out. I got a new hairstyle, I got new clothes, let's go out. I don't even care where we're going,
This top is from Only, by the way, but I love how it's like ribbed here, a little peekaboo there in kind of the decolletage area. Get a little peek of skin here with the boot. For me, this is like, this might be my favorite a little. Let's throw a little comb over the top.
Yes.
Bring the hair out. And it's just for arrival, so when you arrive here, let the girls know I'm here, I'm ready. Give this a little bit of tighten. And play with the silhouette, play with shapes. These things are here for a reason. They're not just there for decorative pieces. They're there for you to kind of allow the clothes to shape and to kind of become what you need it to be for your body and for your type. And see, already that looks, love that.
Yeah.
Lauren, this has been such a joy. Thank you so much for taking the time out, stopping by the studio, and playing dress with us. Also, just want to say a big shout out to the Fashion Minority Alliance. They're going to be having their first digital festival on October 23rd and 24th. So you can find out more details on Fashion Minority Alliance on Instagram, on the website as well. You want to tune into that. They're doing really big things in the community for people of color in the fashion entertainment space. So that's really important. And also want to give a really shout out to Amazon as well for supplying us with all these fun little bits to play with. And we hope this has been helpful for you. You know, we hope that we've given you some insight and some tidbits on how you can now be a smart consumer, can be a consumer who's more budget conscious, and how you can go on Amazon Fashion and find the looks and the pieces to build out and replenish your wardrobe. This is Zadrian signing off from London. Stay tuned for next time. Bye!
Late night teas and a sudden hot flash. So tight weak but adrenaline latched. Feels upturned, mind body so adapt. It's a burden not a catch. Now you clinging on to drive.